Red hour. The room was soaked in red light. Not the kind that spilled soft and romantic from a distant sunset, but the kind that buzzed behind peeling neon letters outside a building no one respectable admitted knowing. It was midnight or just past, and the city outside steamed with a kind of sickness, a thick, sultry heat rising from the concrete like breath against glass. He stood behind the window, cigarette caught between his fingers, eyes narrowed as if watching the shadows below could save him. The smoke curled around his cheekbones, catching in the collar of his shirt, still buttoned too high, too clean, too deliberate for a man who'd already slipped so far. His name was Victor, or maybe it wasn't. Names had long since ceased to matter in this part of town, especially inside this room. It was always rented by the hour. Always. The front desk girl, with her mismatched nail polish and gum-snapping indifference, didn't ask anymore. The money slid across the counter, the key slid back. No words.
No promises. No trace.
He'd told his wife he was working late. She'd believed him. She always did. His phone sat face down on the crooked nightstand, buzzing softly against a worn, laminated menu for champagne and room service that no one ever ordered. The bed behind him creaked as she shifted, a sound he'd grown to anticipate like breath in his ear. She didn't ask for his name. That had been part of the appeal. She didn't care who he was outside this room, only that when he came in, his pulse was loud and desperate, like something feral, something dying. She called herself Mina. She looked like a girl who belonged in broken mirrors, long-legged and slow-smiling. Her lipstick always imperfect, like she'd bitten it off herself. There was something about her that tasted like danger. Not loud, neon-flashing danger, but quiet, velvet-tongued, cigarette-laced danger. The kind that made you think of whispered betrayals and sweat in the dark. Her eyes never asked for tenderness. Her eyes never asked for tenderness. They asked for truth, the ugly, blistering kind that tore at the gut. And every time he saw her, he gave it willingly. He turned from the window. She was stretched across the sheets, the thin slip of black silk she wore riding up her thigh as if it too had lost its grip. Her skin gleamed like polished bone in the dim light. Her hand was at her mouth, her teeth worrying the edge of her thumb in that same slow, distracted way she played with his collar when she wanted him angry, desperate, ashamed. He never touched her the same way twice. That was part of the ritual. He didn't come here for softness. He came because she knew how to unmake him. She didn't look at him when she spoke. "How many times you lie to her, Victor?" It wasn't a question. Not really. He didn't answer. She liked that. The silence made her smile. He crossed the room and sat on the edge of the bed, watching her from beneath lashes still heavy with guilt he pretended didn't exist. Her hand slid to his knee, nails like little knives tracing upward. "You said you'd stop," she murmured. "You said last time was the last time." Her voice was low, breathy, half laughing. She didn't believe him. She never had. He reached for her wrist, fingers wrapping tight. She didn't pull away, didn't flinch. She leaned forward instead, mouth brushing his jaw, tongue tasting sweat and the lie beneath it. Her other hand slid under his shirt, cool against the heat of his spine. He was already trembling. She knew just how to touch the parts of him he didn't let anyone see. The weak parts, the scared parts, the ones that screamed under a surface so carefully polished no one ever guessed what he really was. She shoved him backward. He let her. The mattress groaned under their weight, years of bodies grinding down into the coils like secrets ground into bone. She straddled him, that slip of silk now nothing more than a suggestion. Her thighs clamped around him, her fingers sliding up to unfasten the top button of his shirt. 1, 2. Her mouth followed each one down. Slow, aching, deliberate. He tasted like betrayal. She licked it from his skin like honey, like poison. Outside, a siren wailed. Inside, the world held still. He grabbed her hair. She gasped, not in pain but pleasure. She was always the one in control, but tonight he needed to forget, needed to drown, needed to be the one who wasn't pretending. "You're filth," she whispered against his throat, kissing it like a lover, dragging her nails down his chest. "You don't even want me. You just want to feel like you matter somewhere." He bit her lip to shut her up. She moaned, tasting copper. Her hips ground down against his, slow and deliberate, and she pulled away only to laugh, breathless. "Tell me what she doesn't know. Tell me everything you pretend not to be." He did, in words he didn't recognize, through breath and teeth and muffled cries in a room that stank of sweat and rot and roses long since dead. He told her about the loneliness, the despair, the aching need to be seen not as a father or a husband or a man with perfect suits and well-timed smiles, but as something raw, real, and hideous. She drank it all, every word, every lie. When they finished, the silence hung heavy. She lay beside him, skin cooling against his arm. The sheets were damp. The air was thicker now, like it couldn't hold what they'd done. He stared at the ceiling. "I'm not coming back," he said. She lit a cigarette with a lazy flick of her wrist, her eyes never leaving the curling smoke. "Sure you're not," she said. "But you will." And he knew she was right. She always was. Downstairs, the neon sign buzzed on, flickering between room and open. Outside, the city kept swallowing itself. And somewhere across town, a woman lay alone in a marriage bed that smelled like absence. But here, in this place where shame and heat lived side by side, Victor sat in silence beside the woman who never asked for anything more than what he truly was. And that, more than anything else, terrified him.